Thank you for the invitation, and thanks for Anne with your ending words. Books are foundations of culture and so on. I appreciate so much. And we have so much in common. For instance, in this consultancy that was mentioned in the beginning, we share some opinions, and some opinions we are on the different sides of the border, but doesn't matter. We fight together and with each other sometimes. First, you know what a new word, selfie, means? Selfie, yes. Do you know what it means, shelfie? Shelfie. It's a picture you take of your bookshelf, and then you put it on Facebook or Instagram or wherever you put your photos. Shelfie. And I think we are the last generations that can make shelfies. Next generations wouldn't have that type of bookshelves at home to make shelfies and to tell about themselves with their shelfies. They have selfies, of course, but maybe not shelfies as our generation and our parents' generations have had. So book as an object is changing, but it's not only book, it's the way of reading, the way of consuming stories. Maybe most of stories are consumed as TV series or as films, so there are authors behind these stories, but they are not all published as books. So the literature is changing. It's not only the format of a book, but all the scene is changing. European Writers' Council covers all literary genres. Our members, we have about 120,000 authors in, so they are members of our member societies, and European Writers' Council is a umbrella organization for European authors organizations. And we cover all genres from academic literature to educational literature to children's books to poetry, novels, fiction, science fiction and so on, and TV and drama writers as well. So first, when coming to digital world and e-books, I would like to say that there are so many practices our authors, 100,000 authors, are facing in Europe that one author cannot tell to her or his colleague how to negotiate or bargain the contract and what kind of books or what kind of contracts you can expect when you are publishing. First, in science and research, internet publishing and publishing in articles in scientific journals is one field, and it's fixed, and there is nothing happening in that area. But then there are scientific monographs, books that have been published years and years by scientific publishers or general publishers as well when it comes to history or linguistics or literature or some human interest, what is that, arts and literature type research. So they are changing into digital format too, and it changes the reading as well. Then education, books used at school are nowadays mostly internet materials. There are books still, but they have both internet materials that are downloaded on the computer or in the intranet of school or different solutions there. And then, of course, fiction that we read usually in leisure time. We can have e-books, which is mostly PDF format, and we download it in our whatever Sony e-reader, whatever the gadget is, telephone, computer, whatever. First, some words about science and universities and research, what is happening to authors in this field, and same time authors and researchers and libraries are facing huge changes. Scientific publishers, and this is something that all universities, and now I'm changing my hat. I work in the University of Helsinki, and we use the university library. So scientific publishers, there are some huge publishers which almost have a monopoly in that area, and that is something that has been criticized for years and years, because they have a monopoly status and they can dictate the prices and so on. I'm not going deeper in this problem, but this has been under debate during at least 20 years in academic world. And as a criticism towards the publisher's monopoly, there has been a movement, open access, which makes the scene react to the claims that all the research papers should be free for anybody working in the university. And I'm sure you know open access. Isn't there somebody who doesn't know what open access means? Open access to research, not to every book, but research papers. And most European research funding agencies, I don't remember what, Vetenskapsrådet in Sweden, and Finnish Academy of Finland in Finland, and other funding bodies have signed the declaration, Berlin Declaration from 2003, that all researchers who get funding from taxpayers' money, from national research funding bodies, should publish their articles in open access journals, or if they put it in normal journal, after an embargo time, maybe half a year or 1 year, depends on the discipline, the article should be put on the website of the university. Okay, this is the declaration. It doesn't work, but there are lots of movements that are looking for solutions in this. And as a researcher, I'm sometimes happy with this open access movement, but I'm not happy when it is taken as the whole work in research area, so that every book that the researcher has written should be open access. Researchers are authors, creative authors themselves, and when they write educational textbooks or other books in their discipline, they must be treated as authors, and they use their leisure time too. They don't get paid for every moment when they write. So open access should be restricted in research publications. Last November there was 10-year celebration in Berlin for that Berlin Declaration, and several universities and research funding bodies celebrated that. Okay. E-books in scientific libraries, this has been an everyday phenomenon, so nothing new that there are e-books. But the contracts with scientific publishers and libraries are very different, so they vary from publisher to publisher, and it's very difficult to negotiate what can you do with a book. You can just read it online, says one publisher, and the other publisher lets to download a book, or you can even print it, or you can send it to your students, a copy or an article or a chapter of a book. So there are different practices, and when you think an e-book market in science, there are several practices, and all libraries, they spend more and more time in this bargaining, negotiating these e-book solutions. They don't have money and time to buy books that are needed, for instance, in arts and humanities. But all libraries, they have advanced e-book services to their students and researchers. But do you know, libraries tell that students are very conservative. I've made an interview in some scientific libraries, and usually students take first the P book, so print book, and if there are no print books left, they want to read an e-book. But usually there are both copies from all new books available. But students want to have an object that they can read themselves and underline and have in their bags and open it in a cafeteria. Of course, e-books are read too, but it's a second option. And when we talk about science and universities, we must remember that in medicine, technology, and biology, and things like that, practices are different from those literature and humanities history, which are read by so-called laymen too. So not only one scientific practice in publishing and building collections in scientific libraries. Yes, students prefer P-book. And then when we come to education, schools, there are huge changes. Schools have internet materials more and more, and what is interesting and same time fascinating and dangerous is the eagerness that politicians and some of society's thinkers say that everything in education should be for free. And there was a declaration by European Commission last year opening up educational resources. And this is nothing new. It's about 10-year-old movement. It was in the beginning of so that everybody should have an access to education. So education is not a privilege, but it's a right for everybody. And then the next step was that there were ideas that all educational books should be for free. In countries like Finland and Sweden, that is not a problem because our municipalities buy the books and give to the children. And all children have free books, and some other countries too. But when this opening up education in the beginning, it was interpreted that if it is an educational book, it shouldn't have a copyright. And we were in hearings last year and said that when they are books and they need human resources to be written, so they must be like any other books, and it's politicians' role to find funding for this work and buy the books. You can't just declare the copyright away. The next step in opening up educational is that teachers are encouraged to put their own materials in internet and share all they have done, their creative work, for free. Just use CC licenses. As an author, you wouldn't get anything for that. You just put your materials and think that others will do that too, so you can use other teachers' materials. But the world doesn't go like this. Any material, all PowerPoint slides, for instance, these slides I've made, they wouldn't make sense for any teacher, just if you get them for free via internet. So educational materials need an author, a creative author, advanced thinking behind them to be written. So opening up education, if you hear and read these documents, you will see that there are several tries to get a solution for this, but it is not to forget the copyright. It is another system in society. MOOCs, isn't there somebody who doesn't know what a MOOC, M-O-O-C, is? Started from America 2 years ago, and now all universities are encouraged, and other educational institutions as well, to put their courses for free on internet. Harvard, Stanford, University of Edinburgh, Geneva, München, Munich, whatever university, you will find at least 200 universities putting their courses, not only one material or one idea, but full courses, 10 weeks, for instance, putting on internet. And these are not mostly written, but they are videos, video lectures, short lectures, and everybody can follow a course in signal technology or cell biology or antiques history in University of Stanford. You just open your computer and for free you follow the course. And this is something that is happening in educational materials. It's a challenge for everybody who wants to live on their work, writing materials and selling them and having a copyright. When we come to the third area, it's very simple, but our authors, those who work in science, can of course work in fiction and poetry, but mostly fiction is thought when we think e-books. And e-books, as an author, there are diversity of contracts, and one publisher doesn't follow the same routine. And of course it's good, because it's better that publishers don't have a cartel or monopoly, so that they have all the same contracts, but it makes very difficult to compare the conditions for publishing or conditions for buying and having an e-book. Sometimes e-book is seen as an independent work, so there are publishers who publish only e-books, but sometimes e-book, for instance a novel, is just a PDF byproduct from a print book, and they are bound together. And one author can get one remuneration, for instance, having two types of publications. So authors sometimes sell both rights to the publisher, and sometimes they can sell these separately to different publishers, or even do themselves the e-book. The share between publisher and author has been a problem for years, and usually the print book has been quite easy to understand how the costs and how the costs come to the book. You need paper, you need printing machines, you need cars, trucks to deliver the books. But when it is an e-book, should it be the same ratio between publisher and author? Should it be different? Should an author get more than a publisher? And this is something that is just everybody is finding their ways, and I hope that we find good solutions so that books can be published in all forms that readers want to have. And in some countries there are clear contracts, so that, for instance, author and publisher negotiate how long this book can be as an e-book by this publisher. 2 years, 3 years, 10 years, and then the rights come back to the author, and author can publish it by another publisher or him or herself. But in some cases there are no practices having the duration of rights or getting them back. In P-book, print book, the getting rights back when the book is out of commerce is in some countries it's in law, in some countries it's in contracts, and in some countries it's negotiated every time. But in e-books it's still bubbling. We don't have a clear system. And then what comes to e-lending, there are diversity of models in Europe, and e-lending is something that we need in our libraries. And last year, publishers, Anne Bergman and her organization and our organization, authors, we have had 2 seminars to understand the situation in European libraries, how e-lending is organized, what are the best models, what type of models can there be, and how should we work. Usually, libraries and readers have had an initiative in this field, and you know what their initiative is, and I appreciate that. Readers want to have all books and at once, and libraries want to have exceptions, or so that it's easy to give e-lending e-books, lend e-books without remuneration to publishers or authors. But we need to find solutions so that readers, writers and publishers are happy in this field, so no stakeholder alone can find out the rules. And now we are looking for the best practices. Next seminar to analyze the European scene is in May in London for publishers and authors. And we will have a survey of European countries, several practices analyzed, how e-lending is organized, and not one model, and maybe not one model should be in Europe, but different countries, different language areas, big languages, small languages might have different systems. I understand that readers want to have flexible systems, and I find that it is not from this century that we answer to our readers that even if there is an e-book in the library, libraries tell that it's out of, so you can't get it. There are not enough licenses in e-book. And there must be solutions how to negotiate more licensing for a book if the book is very popular. Because in print book, I can understand that if they have 800 copies and they are all gone, so the reader number 801 have to wait that one book comes back to the library. But when it is digital, there must be a system to get a license so that the reader 800, the number 801 can get an e-copy, and the remuneration should go along to that. And of course, books, when they are in digital forms, whether academic or educational or leisure time novels, there must be systems for cross-border reading, buying as well. So that's all what I'm going to say about e-books. When we talk about books, we usually think the object and the format of book, but same time we must analyze, and in our universities we analyze quite a lot of the changes in literacy. What is happening in literacy? Does it have the same role as it used to have 20, 50, 100 years ago? What happens to next generations? Will there be people who don't appreciate written language as much as our generation, that our parents' generation did? So what happens to the publications that are in written form? Do they want videos, audiovisual systems? Do they want the literature in TV series, film form, and so on? And what happens to the role of authors? And there is a dichotomy. We have more and more professional authors who need to get their living on their writing. And then we have those authors who are, of course, talented and skilled and write, but they have another profession, and writing books is a hobby. And still they need to get a remuneration for their work. But the professional authors can't live on if we think that when it's digital it needs to have different sales system or remuneration system as any other book. So thank you for organizing this interesting seminar, and good luck. And please take the shelfies and send them.